Alright, we got a break in the weather, able to work on the bathroom a little bit here. What I've done so far is I put down the 3/4 inch plywood subfloor. Again, 3/4 inch is probably a little overkill for this thing, but I might put tile down on the floor, so I want it to be rigid. We went ahead and put down subfloor glue and dropped the plywood on top, and then we nailed about every 8 inches or so. One thing about nailing, and I'll just drive a nail as an example. When I drive a nail, I like to put a nail in at an angle like this. If you go straight up and down, nail pulls out a lot more. So if you go in at an angle and drive at an angle, the nail stays buried a lot better. Alright, so subfloor is down. What we're going to do now is we're going to work on the deck over here. So what I've done is there'll be 4x4 posts that go straight up to help hold up the roof of the structure. So I marked out the 3.5 by 3.5 over here, cut out for the 4x4 posts, one on each end. I flushed this end and made these straight across. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and flush all this side for the deck boards, and then we'll use 8-penny as our spacer there, and then we'll continue from there. So what I'll do is I'll snap a string line to make that straight, and we'll pre-drill and then screw these boards on. Go ahead, put a string line on here just as a guide to follow for the screws and screwing it in. Go ahead and snap a string line there, and then we'll go down to the center of each of these studs, right on the center, and we'll just snap all the way down. Alright, what we're doing is we're screwing down the deck boards. We'll go ahead and pre-drill, and then we'll come back with some coated deck screws and sink them. We want to pre-drill so to not split the wood. The only thing he's making sure he does is he makes sure that the screw head isn't above the surface of the board. And we'll just continue down. This is why we want a nice string line so that the screws are straight. Not all these boards are going to be perfectly straight. We try to get the straightest boards possible. We put all the straight boards as we could this far forward, and we have a little bit more of a gap in some of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just place a little bit of pressure. We've got our 16-penny nails as our spacer. I'll put a little bit of pressure, close up the gap there. Again, all the crowns are going the same direction, so it all pushes in against our spacer and straightens all the boards out. I'm going to frame the rear wall. It's going to be a little bit different frame than this. I was going to frame it real simple for the structure, but I'm actually going to go ahead and frame it like I would a normal house framing. So we'll work on the rear wall and the side wall and get those set up. Alright, I'm going to be framing the rear wall first, and I'm not going to be doing a double top plate. I'm going to be using a strapping to secure it instead of doing a double top plate. So for the top plate, this is the top plate, I am going to have a 1-inch overhang on my eave on each end. So I'm using a 10-footer here and an 8-footer here. So I've come in 1 foot on each side. I've tacked the two top and bottom plates together. I'm going to go ahead and lay it out. I went ahead and put these in ink so we can see them a little bit better. So I've got my stud layouts on my bottom plate, and I'm going to just go ahead and transfer all the measurements over to my top plate. So there'll be a stud right there. This is going to be another stud trimmer, and I've got the center cripple for the window. So there'll be a window in this between the trimmers, and I'm just going ahead and using my square and transferring the measurements up to the top. So I have a trimmer here, stud, and this is going to be the 2x4 center wall that the center wall will run off of. Okay, that's the layout for that. We'll go ahead, separate these and start framing it up. We're going to go ahead and raise the wall, so I put in a couple blocks over here. And the wall will slide up against that and we'll raise it up, and this will help keep the wall flush with the outside of the subfloor here. We'll go ahead and set it up, we'll put a cross brace up there, spike it in, and then we'll work on the end wall. Keep this wall all the way up to that thing.
Yep.
Okay, this is a simple sidewall, real simple drawing. The only difference to it is there's a bit of a rake to this wall. I'm not making it a flat wall all the way across. These studs are all going to be individual different lengths, and I've got it all calculated out using just simple SketchUp. It'll tell you exact lengths of each of the studs for that slope we're going to put up there. So let's just get those cut out and put them together. See how this bracket right here? We miss a nail gun sometimes. You see the center block? We'll put the center wall block in there so we can nail this wall into that. Alright, we're going to make sure that this thing is plumb, so put that against there. No, the edge.
Oh. Yep. Okay, just like the rear wall, I got the top and bottom plate for the front wall, and again, I have an 8-foot board. I have an 8-foot board and a 10-footer. Just like on the rear wall, where we have that overhang over there for the roof eave over there. So same thing with the front wall. I've got it framed out for stud, trimmer, and then rough opening for the door, and I have a cripple on the top. I don't have one because it's going all the way through to the bottom. I'll cut out the bottom plate afterwards, and then I'll have trimmer, stud, and this is a channel for the center wall, and same thing on the opposite side. So we'll go ahead and start framing this out. Alright, we finished up framing the walls. We got the plywood on for the front door. The roof is raking upwards. We're going to put in some 4x4 posts on each corner going up to complete the roof run. We'll get that framed in, and then we'll start putting on the roof.